So now we get underway with our first pre-final for DD2. Let's have a look at your starting grid. So Chris Harnan and Glenn Van Parijs will be on the front row. This was due to Patrick Knowles-Lockmellis, who will start from 17th, being excluded for being underweight post-qualifying. Meant that Van Parijs was third, ended up on the front row. Matis Malinovskis and current championship leader and recently crowned Euro Trophy champion Mark Kimber on row 2. Fabian Bock and Estonia's Devin Sigali ran at row 3, with Matthias Jeder-Jakobsen and Maxim Dirks ran at row 4. It's an all-German row number 5, completing the top 10 with Hugo Schwarzer and Lawrence Seyfried on the 5th row. Anthony Millet and Yannick Jacobs, row number 6, with Ragnar Veres and Jules Cousin running at row 7. Jarl Dekkers, Knien Gerhard and Patrick Knowles-Lockmellis round out the 17-strong grid. So, fresh from his adventures in the DKM this year, Chris Harnan finishing second in his class, behind former BNL Karting Series title winner, because it's not just one of the Pex brothers that has actually won a championship in the BNL Karting Series. Nicholas Yard and Jorrit both won 1 year after the other, 2019 for Jorrit and 2010 for Yard. In KZ2 when we used to run it, and I remember the first time I was here 4 years ago. I saw a very, very young Dutchman in the form of Senna van Valsten, who now is a factory Sodi kart driver these days, and it was my first experience of KZ2. So coming into this championship round, Mark Kimber has 167 points to his credit, 116 to the defending two-time champion, who is one of 2 drivers that could make it for this weekend on the 15th anniversary of the championship, first inaugurated back in 2008. That is Mr. Glenn Van Parijs, who has been running not just in the BNL Karting Series, and he did say to me in his interview that's now live on the official BNL YouTube channel, he will be back for multiple seasons to come. Into the tram lines we go. Revs rise. Are we ready? Are we steady? The lights are out first time. We are underway. Harnan takes the lead, but Van Parijs trying to force it round the outside. That's going to be nip and tuck between the pair. Malinovskis trying to get himself into there. And it's the 4.25 Knien Gerhard that is off and rallying through the exit of turn number 2. Not too sure if he might have outbroke himself or there was a little bit of coming together. But the drivers making their way through turn 6 onto the Europelan. It was side by side at the back end of the field. Jules Cousin, Patrick Knowles-Lockmellis was side by side coming out of turn number 6, but it's Van Parijs that hits the front. And he's done that early. He's trying to put Harnan between himself and Kimber. Malinovskis is in 4th. Oh, that's a send and a half, Matthias Jeder-Jakobsen. And that was through turn number 10. That was probably more than likely on Maxim Dirks, who keeps on forgetting to bring his dance moves to the party. Right. So that's the 4.16 that's out. That's Anthony Millet, who's right out of the... who's very much at the sharp end of the grid. And the Frenchman out on the spot. So within a lap and a half, we've had 1 retirement. And now we've had a change for second. Mark Kimber has got himself past Chris Harnan. Matis Malinovskis rounds out the top 4. Patrick Knowles-Lockmellis has got past, that looks to be either Hugo Schwarzer or Lawrence Seyfried. Couldn't really pick out the number. But we're just a minute and a half completed. Kimber's not getting away from Chris Harnan, but then Malinovskis. Oh, that was a bit close there, boys. And then Jeder-Jakobsen, like a rat up a drain pipe, and there goes Maxim Dirks, and they both touch. It's 4 karts into the same space of track. Oh dearie me! I thought it was bad enough in juniors, now seniors. Now DD2 have decided, right, anything you can do, we can do better. And oh, a bit of a bump over the curb. That was the 444 of Devin Sigali. I think that was Yannick Jacobs up the inside who got through, and that was on turn 3. Dirks really causing the accordion effect going through turn 6 in front of Chris Harnan, Fabian Bock. And there is a bit of a send. That was Yannick Jacobs. That was a nice little move there. That was on Fabian Bock for position through turn number 7. So 10.5 minutes remain on the clock. And once again, it's the children playing roughly in the playground here. As Ragnar Virus, I think, might have just been assaulted from all sides, figuratively, not literally speaking, because he nearly had a pit box manoeuvre put on him. And there comes Patrick Knowles-Lock-Mellis, who's trying to find his way up the order, sends it up the inside of the multi-time RMC Nordic champion, who was 3rd in the championship last year, and he is currently 3rd at the moment. But Maxime Dirix might have an opportunity to get himself up into the top 3 come the end of the year. Virus looked up the inside there. But he's got right up his back bumper Jules Cousin from France in the 423. Cousin has looked to have gotten through there. Seifried, I think, is at the back. Well, Seifried is there. I think, yeah, he is there. The 420 from Salzgitter from Germany. But we're just under just under 9.5 minutes still to go. As Harnon's got a battle on his hand. Up the inside, Maxime Dirix with his Art Deco race helmet. Sends it up the inside and tangles with Malinovskis. And Chris Harnon says, "Thank you very much, boys, for opening the door for me." It was opened wide and then some. And all of a sudden, Yannick Jacobs has gone through. Oh, that back axle. That back axle is all over the place. I bet you it's bent. The right rear is wobbling up and down like a good one from Matis Malinovskis after that touch. And he's going to have to pull that off, pull that cart off to the side somewhere safe. I'm not too sure if I might have seen Kenny Garrow with a possible left rear bumper loose, as Maxime Dirix is slowing off that tangle too. It's a real shame. But Glenn Van Perez is leading the way. 8 minutes and 20 still to go. 6.5 tenths ahead of Kimber. But Lock-Mellis, in the meantime, has been getting on with business. He's right with Jaro Dekkers. And looks to get up the inside, through into turn 7 off the Europlan. That's a nice little move there from the 430. So the Latvian now ahead. So yeah, looks like Matis Malinovskis and Maxime Dirix will both retire after 4 laps. Getting a bit too close for comfort, I think. And yeah, it's a case of pushing and shoving. It will come to blows, and then yep, it just happened. 8.5 tenths separate the top 2. Top 3 covered by 1.4 seconds as Fabian Bock now looking up the inside of Yannick Jacobs. I still remember when Fabian Bock was running as a senior a few years ago and then made the move up to DD2. It was last season. So he's been running in DD2 for the best part of nearly 2 years. So yeah, we are going to be down to 14 drivers. As the 406 of Jarod Dekkers has lost out to the 491 through turn number 11, courtesy of Ragnar Virus from Estonia, who now moves up into 9th place. Fabian Bock still trying to close in on Yannick Jacobs, but keep your eyes on the Latvian in the 430, Patrick Knowles-Lock-Mellis. Devin Sigardi, the other Estonian in this field, has now made his way past Lawrence Seifried. And now looks to have made his way through on Jarod Dekkers. To the inside is Seifried. There's the 423, that's Jules Cousin. And they both get through on the 406 through turn 7. coming up to 5.5 minutes remaining. Glenn Van Parijs still has a lead, but Ragnar Virus has set the fastest lap in 8th position, 54.488 seconds. And he is trying to close them in on Patrick Snolls Loxmelis. So that's going to be a battle between Estonia and Latvia. There's the 4:10. Well, keep your eyes on Matthias Jere Jakobsen. He is closing in on Mark Kimber. And this could be a sign that Glenn Van Parijs has been waiting for. Because Glenn, if he finishes in second, will get a ticket for the grand finals. But he wants to be a part of BNL karting series history. And from my perspective, I'd like to see that happen. Because if Matthias Jere Jakobsen puts himself up into second position, that means that the gap is further going to shrink, and you're going to have to take into considerations. And as I say that, Matthias Jere Jakobsen from Denmark in the 442, running under Robert Schlunzen's stable at RS competition. And good to hear from you too, Mr. Tom Foganaway, one of our normal guys, one of the parts of the team. He's watching as well. So good to hear from you, Tom, too. Rick Houskins, we have to give a shout out. Normally our assistant clerk of the course is elsewhere at the moment. But they've been a valuable part of the team this season. 4 minutes to go, plus an additional lap. And now Jere Jakobsen is pulling away from Mark Kimber. Now take into consideration there are drop scores to consider come the end of this championship season. If you have an exclusion, that counts towards your point score. And if I remember correctly, as per the BNL karting series sporting regulations, that it's the best 10 out of 12 results that count. If you get an exclusion, that can hurt you significantly. So 3 minutes and 25 seconds still to go. And in the meantime, Ragnar Virus has got past Patrick Snolls Lockmelis for position. That is for 7th on the road. Devin Sigardi and Lawrence Seyfried round out the top 10 positions. We are still with 14 drivers. Kilian Gerhardt has got past Hugo Schwarzer from Germany, who now rounds out the 14 strong. Still running after what will be 11 laps of racing. Glenn Van Parijs now has a lead of just over 0.8 of a second, as Matthias Jere Jakobsen did quickly set his fastest lap of the race of 54.500. .555 for Mark Kimber, 54.6 for Chris Harnan. As now, here comes a move on Fabian Bock, and he gets, well, it's a buy one, get one free, I'm afraid, for the German, who drops behind the pair of Ragnar Virus and Patrick Snolls Lockmelis, who are both working together to move up the field. It's a bit like a divide and conquer situation between those two, despite the fact they're under different stables. Lockmelis with MRG and Ragnar Virus with Birrell Arc Baltics, but both running on the Birrell ART chassis. 2 minutes to go, and the lead has further been truncated as Matthias Jere Jakobsen has just set the all-time fastest lap of the race so far. 54.457 seconds. So 1 minute and 30 still to go. There are our three leaders, covered by 1.3 seconds after what has been 12 laps of racing. It's under 1.5 minutes to go. Now Jere Jakobsen doesn't care about the title. He wants the way he's pushing. He was nearly 0.3 of a second quicker than Van Parijs, and this time again the gap was closed. I would estimate it's probably going to be north of about 3.5 of a second as they cross the line. The gap is 0.475. The gap is, well, whilst the gap between Jere Jakobsen in second and Van Parijs in first has truncated, the gap between Jere Jakobsen and Kimber has started to expand a little bit. And the Dane is close. Close enough for a move, as my good friend Henry Brodette would say. He is within lunge range. 30 seconds still to go on the clock. Anything is possible, but Van Perez has got to start defending very, very soon, because the Dane train is coming his way. Out of turn 11. 15 seconds on the clock remains. Tight on the inside through turn 12 goes Van Perez. Swings it wide out of the final corner and across the line. 2 more laps to go, including this one. Jette Jakobsen gets the gap down to just under 3/10. As Van Perez 2 laps ago set a good response. He was just under 0.2 of a second slower than the Dane behind. As they go down the Europlan for what's going to be the penultimate time. Lap 15, very much over and done with by the halfway point. So after this, 1,360 metres left to go. One more tour of the iconic home of champions here at Karting Genk in Belgium. Timer hit 0 out of the final corner. Let's see how much of a slipstream Jette Jakobsen gets on Van Perez as they cross the line. Into turns 1 and 2 for the final time. Plenty of gap between Van Perez and Jette Jakobsen. If Jette Jakobsen was within 1.5 or maybe even 0.2 at a push, he might have enough slipstream to get past the 401, who now these days resides in Genk, having moved here not that long ago. Is also, along with his own racing, he's also a driver coach. But up into turn 9 for the 16th and final time, not including the sighting and formation lap. Oh, right. I see an interesting little development, because the front bumper on Matthias Jette Jakobsen's kart is not looking 100% stable. But into the final corner, Jakobsen swings wide out of the final turn, and Van Perez is going to get the win by about 1/3 of a kart length, 49 thousandths. Separate the pair. Mark Kimber running at the top 3 positions, ahead of Chris Hahn, our pole sitter, with Yannick Jacobs running out the top 5. 0.9 of a second covering the top 3. So Van Perez has got himself off to the best start possible with a 25-point score in this opening pre-final of the race weekend. Let's not forget, it is a double-header. So, from Yannick Jacobs downwards, it's Ragnar Virus, Patrick Snowles, Locke Mellis from the back of the grid to 7th. Ahead of Fabian Bock, Devin Segardi, Lawrence Seyfried rounding at the top 10, with Jules Cousin, Kilian Gerhardt, Jaro Dekkers and Hugo Schwarzer, the last of the 14 classified finishers. After a tangle on lap 3, Matis Malanovskis and Maxim Didix retired on the very next lap, with Anthony Millet unfortunately out on the exit of turn number 11, or the outside of turn number 11, after the opening tour.